All right, we are live. I'm going with no mic today and no earbuds, so we are live. Dan looks like a man who's like, come meet me in the alley, or like, hey, send him in, and it's like, why is it so dark in here, bro? What are you trying to do? There it is, a little more light in there now.
Yeah, it's all right.
You look like a guy doing some shady business right now.
Yeah, no. I decided that I was gonna do it in the dark today. Because I'm a dark soul. I'm very negative and all that shit. I hear now. So, it's I need to like kind of get away from the light, dude. I've been working all day and like been staring at screens all day and shit. Like I need to like kind of like stay away from like all the light and everything. So going
Awesome.
dark.
So quickly, this is the DraftKings Over Under podcast. We have 65 people watching right now, Dan, and going up 63. Oh, yep. So hello, everybody. A ton is going on right now. 69 people watching. Yeah,
they're nice. Nice.
Let's get it out. Let's see if we can get it to a hundo. Anyway, dude. All right. What is going on in the world right now? We have the NBA draft is tonight, which we'll have some odds on, so stand by on that. Training camp second day is opened up in the NFL. We had NHL free agency basically get off last night, and the MLB trade deadline is tomorrow. I believe that's all four major sports, right?
Yep.
So there's a lot going on right now. This Max Scherzer thing starting to heat up a little bit. So has he been officially moved yet?
So he hasn't officially approved the trade to San Diego. So that's going to be something to monitor in the next little bit. I assume that the Dodgers think he is because they just acquired Danny Duffy from the Kansas City Royals. So that's going on. The LA Lakers, as we talked about on the podcast last week, Joe, I told you, there are a lot of rumors that the Lakers are going to do something big. We talked about Russell Westbrook. We talked about potentially DeMar DeRozan. We talked about potentially Kyle Lowry. Yes, the beard is gross. You are right about that. Whoops. I need to get shaved, but if you don't like it, I don't really give a shit. So we had all kind of all these names that are floating out there. And obviously it looks like they're going to get Westbrook, in the next little bit. So that's going to be interesting, kind of what's going on there. I still think there's more to come. And by the way, if you don't like my beard, I understand it's a little bit grosser now, but also it's actually kind of nice. Like, I like having a big beard. So, whatever.
Yeah. Mine, I line mine up a little bit, Dan. That's the difference between me and you. Yours is just a big old thick beard.
This is lined up. This is
You
see, this is lined up. It's all right to the same place. So I need to trim it again, but it is lined up. So it's lined. I go to a barber. I get it lined up every other Saturday. So I do the thing. All right. So anyways, going back, the Wizards obviously moving Russell Westbrook. It sounds like to me that obviously because of that, and by the way, that has been kind of silently, but like everyone in the NBA kind of knew he had requested a trade and like he wanted to go to LA. It was the Clippers, the Lakers, and he preferred the Lakers. So that's kind of, I think there's still another big shoe to drop of the Lakers. I think Dennis Schroeder is going to be there for potential trade asset. I think they're going to be able to do something else as well. So I still think that we're going to see a little bit more. There are a lot of people in the NBA who really like Jalen Horton-Tucker as well. So he's going to have some value in a trade. They're going to be able to trade any future first. So the Lakers aren't done, which is why I said take the 5-1 to win the championship last week. That's down to 3.5 to 1 now. So hopefully you got, you guys played that. I do think the Lakers will have a legit chance to win. The Celtics, obviously, we can talk about quickly. The Bradley Beal stuff, there's reports coming out right now that Bradley Beal wants to stay in Washington or whatever. I'm not saying that that's not correct because I think that right now that's very possible. I'm just saying, like, I don't know how long that will actually last for. It has a very similar feel to the Anthony Davis stuff a couple years ago where Davis was traded mid-season, if you remember. Very, very rare, but a mid-season trade for Davis. And it has a very similar type feel to the situation around Beal, where he does what he needs to do to be in a good place with Washington, leave on good terms. So, maybe they can get more, or maybe they can get more suitors. Because right now I really think that Boston is one of the main and only suitors. It doesn't sound like Golden State is pursuing him. I mean, maybe Miami, but Tyler Herro as an asset has completely dropped off, compared to where he was last year. And I don't know how many pick swaps they want to give up. Same with Philly. I don't think Washington and these other teams want to make a lot of these other teams want to make a large, big financial commitment to Ben Simmons. So even though he's a better trade asset, do you still want to make a large financial, commitment to a guy who may end up having little to no value in a year or two? So you look at the Celtics and say, well, are they really in that bad of a spot to go out and potentially get Bradley Beal, even if they don't include Jaylen Brown, which I think it's also possible they include Jaylen Brown and they do that, but I think it's also possible that they don't include Jaylen Brown and you see maybe a package focused around Marcus Smart and 4 to 5 first-round picks and maybe some pick swaps and, Robert Williams, and maybe you throw in Aaron Nesmith. And, if you have to, maybe you're talking about maybe trading Fournier instead of Aaron, Marcus Smart if they want that. So, I mean, there are some options for the Celtics. They're not the best assets in the world and not super enticing, which is why, again, I was very frustrated with the not getting Miles Turner last year, because I think Miles Turner would have been a very good trade asset to help you land a guy like Bradley Beal. And if you look at the Celtics roster now, I'm not sure Miles Turner would fit the roster. So it doesn't really make sense unless they're going to go out and trade Robert Williams. So the Miles Turner in the rumors are also interesting, because that means that maybe Robert Williams isn't here for long. Maybe Al Horford isn't here for long. So although I think Horford stays, there's a lot of moving parts and whatever, but I do think there's some options out there. And I still think, if you're asking me today, odds on who's the favorite to have Bradley Beal at the start of next season, I think it's the Boston Celtics. That would be it would be the Boston Celtics, not the Washington Wizards, not the Golden State Warriors. And I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen or that there's some source that says it is. I'm just saying, like, if you're asking my opinion, I believe that it's going to be the Boston Celtics, because I think that it's the best opportunity that presents for them. So how about that? Is that a good way to describe it?
Well, how would they get Miles Turner?
So, I mean, here's the thing. If you get Miles Turner, then then you really need to do a sign and trade of Evan Fournier or Marcus Smart. And so if you're doing that, then the other one has to go in a trade for Bradley Beal. So you only can do so much, right? So I do think that if you're going to get Miles Turner, you're either seeing Marcus Smart or a sign and trade of Evan Fournier, you go out the door for him. And if you're getting Miles Turner, which again, I don't think fits the roster right now, the way you're currently lined up, then if that's honestly the case, then I don't know. In my opinion, I think you're probably going out and you're probably end up trading Marcus Smart and Evan Fournier. I don't see that. And no, I don't think you can get TJ Warren and Miles Turner in that trade. I don't think you have enough, unless you don't plan on getting Bradley Beal, unless it's a mid-season trade. So again, I do think there are a lot more options for the Celtics team than people think. And I do think their assets are not as supremely valuable, but they do have a bunch of good assets and a lot of young players, and all their future draft picks past this year. And I do think that it's very possible that something really good happens and kind of falls in their lap. And I know that everyone's super negative about this team. I was super negative about the Celtics last year, Joe. You know that I was down on them under. I'm very positive about the Celtics outlook, and I'll tell you right now, I know I don't have the number in front of me, but I will be on the over on the Celtics win total this year. So I know, crazy. Liv Schatz is positive about something, I know, but I really do think the Celtics are going to be better, and I think that no matter what Brad Stevens does, I think that Brad Stevens, actually doing something unlike Danny Ainge, who was the fucking king of almost with Pat Riley. It's Pat Riley and Danny Ainge, the kings of almost. And I know that, Greeny likes to make fun of Pat Riley. Danny Ainge was no different, king of almost. So, to me, I think Brad Stevens may not be as good of a GM, but I think he's actually going to do stuff, which is, a different kind of shakeup than what we've had in the past.
So it brings up the draft tonight. It's funny. Things are quiet, man. This has been the quietest draft I can remember. It's tonight. The Celtics have picked 45. There's a lot of things they can do. So Dan, I like Luka Garza. I think he's a guy that can play in the NBA. Can he defend? Probably not.
No.
Can he score? I absolutely think so.
Yep.
There are plenty. Could he beat Doug McDermott? Could he beat guys like that? Absolutely. At 45, if they took a shot at him, I'd be fine. I'd be absolutely fine. He's a big. He can play stretch 4. He can score. Now, will he play in the G League, whatever? Probably, right? But all I'm trying to say is tonight I probably wouldn't have expectations. Normally I wouldn't if Danny Ainge was here. But I'm curious if Brad Stevens might try to pile 45 and an exception. You know what I mean? Or like they can do something if they wanted to move up, if they like a guy, or if they want to trade a pick for a player. I just don't think it's going to be quiet tonight. I got a feeling Stevens is going to do something that we're like, whoa, and like it. So that's my prediction tonight. We can't bet on that, obviously. But I just think it's going to be more of a Stevens wants to do something where Ainge kind of sat on his hands.
I think if the Celtics want to move up into the first round, I think they absolutely have the ability to, because I think you're looking at the possibility of maybe trading back into that late first, early second round. I don't think you'll have to give up much. I mean, you have so many bench guys right now. You're going to have to clear off a little, some space for some other guys if you really want to improve. You still have Tristan Thompson's contract you can move. I don't know how long Grant Williams is going to be here. Semi Ojeleye is another guy I think that you could probably move without a lot of hesitation. So, I mean, the Celtics have the ability to kind of move up and package maybe some future seconds and as well as a player, if someone likes them. I mean, I listen, I'm personally not a big fan of Grant Williams. I'm not a big fan of Semi Ojeleye, especially moving forward with what you have. I'm Moses Brown, who's the guy I really like personally, but cannot be a guy that the Celtics end up, trying to move up for, a first round pick. Maybe Jabari Parker's that guy. I don't think he probably has little to no value. Maybe Carson Edwards. I don't know. I mean, again, we're talking about really end of the roster size, but also, the end of the first round probably doesn't hold a ton of value this year either. I mean, you're looking at guys like Ayo Dosunmu, who I personally love. I mean, I think he's going to be a fantastic NBA player. But guys kind of that ilk who are maybe in that range. I think that probably most years that's pretty much what they're around. I know everyone says that this is a really deep draft and a great draft and all that stuff, and I'm not really sure I buy that. Like I don't know, would Trey Mann really be a top 20 pick most years? I don't think so. I think that he's probably right around where he should be. Same with a guy like Quentin Grimes or something like that. So to me, I think it's very possible that we see some of these guys end up falling into the second round because maybe they're not big names. I also think it's possible the Celtics end up taking another stash guy because Yamadar might end up coming over, and if that's the case, then you probably need to start looking for some more stash guys or whatever. So that's a possibility too. All I know is that there's going to be a ton of action tonight in the NBA. We've already seen the Westbrook stuff. We were obviously seeing the Ricky Rubio trade to the Cavs.
Yeah, the Celtics were in on him, I guess.
Yeah, they're. Yeah, or I mean, he could still be available. The Cavs may just want to again, the trade's not going to be completed tonight. So my guess is that they'll still have the chance to move him to another team. Like that's how it works. So I still think that there's stuff that the Celtics can do. And I do think that this team is going to be better next year. And I think that there's, I'm hoping that they don't trade Jaylen Brown for Bradley Beal, but I'm somewhat hopeful that the Celtics can acquire Bradley Beal without doing that, whether it's a midseason trade and you kind of go the Lakers route where you're trading a group of young players and some picks, or, whether it's, Maybe someone lesser, maybe like a Miles Turner, who again, I know every Celtics fan seems to absolutely freaking hate, but I think he would be a good player, for you. And I think that would require you probably changing what you have at the position. So we'll see. But I am interested tonight. I'm going to watch the draft because I do think it's possible the Celtics are active here. So
awesome. And I'm just reading Woj, she's been kind of on fire. That Westbrook deal to the Lakers, man. Now that sends Kuzma. I mean, this is a chance for Washington to blow it up, man. I think it could be good for them. I know the Beal. Like, why does Beal want to be there now?
I'm in my opinion, I think the Beal thing is a way of not forcing Washington's hand to trade him right now, so therefore they'll be able to get back full value, or what they hope is full value in a trade, compared to if he requested a trade out immediately. A lot of these things happen. For instance, no one knew about the Westbrook stuff, right? He had requested the trade last year, right around the start of the playoffs, and there were not a lot of people who knew that. And he requested a trade last year to LA, especially to the West Coast. And so, like, that's one of those things. He didn't say it; it wasn't, public, and that's kind of one of those things where, they were probably able to get more from the Lakers. Maybe that first round pick is included instead, because Westbrook doesn't openly, request a trade. And so, he kind of works together with the team. And I think that's going to be sort of the situation we see with Beal. He's not going to openly request it, but I think behind the scenes is that, I think most people know that Bradley Beal's probably gone. And if he isn't gone this year, I'd be shocked if the Wizards don't trade him around midseason, because I don't think they're going to get much for him. If I think he's going to leave. Like I really do. So
yeah, Woj is saying that this is going to bring the salary cap flexibility to put talent around Beal.
Yeah,
usually the other way around in this.
Yeah, come on. That Washington's not exactly a destination. Again, I think this is a nice way for Bradley Beal to eventually make his exit. Not positive. It's definitely not happening. But I think it's possible. Yes, I know the lighting around me is bad. I'm leaving it that way. I know it's dark. It is what it is. Suck it up. I'm sorry, boys. It's
You guys ever see the movie The Natural? Remember when like the owner's like, yeah, come meet me in my whatever, and it's like real dark. He's like, dude, man, like and he tries to pay him off, to not hit home runs. It's kind of what it's like. Or like if you watched Straight Outta Compton.
Oh, good one.
When Jerry Heller's trying to give Ice Cube the contract, and he's like, man, why is it all dark in here, man? Like, he doesn't want him to see the contract, obviously. He's got a $75,000 check, but he's like, you got to sign the contract first. He's like, no, man, I ain't signing this. Anyways, I'm Dan. I lost my mind today.
Right. Dude, you had an interesting day. You had an interesting morning this morning. The Toucher and Rich segment today was one of the funnier segments I've heard. So
I'm ready for the week to be over, Dan.
I understand that. I certainly understand that. I do.
Ready for the week to be over. All right, let's talk some draft stuff.
Okay.
I got the DraftKings app. So I like the DraftKings app. I know obviously in Massachusetts we have to go to New Hampshire to use it. But I love the app because you just click on it and it has, NBA draft, boom. 4th overall pick seems to be the number one thing that's popped up here. Jalen Suggs, which I think is, do you see anyone not like, normally we can predict this thing, right? Like who's going to go where or what. But like for me, it's Cade Cunningham. I have Jalen Green and then Evan Mobley.
Yeah, I mean, it pretty much, Woj just tweeted that out. The local beat reporters have tweeted out. It sounds like it's going to be Green, and it sounds like it's going to be Mobley at 3. And I'll tell you, on some local skins out there, there are still some pretty decent prices, some PPH sites for Mobley to go 3 and Green to go 2nd. I think Green's like minus 400 a few places. Mobley's minus 500. I mean, it's up to you if you want to lay that juice. When you basically have verbal confirmation that it's going to happen, I usually would say I feel pretty good about that. I think that there's some value there, even though it's an insanely hefty price delay. If you have the credit or the cash to do it, I think that you're probably looking at some free money if you want to pick up a little bit. So that's my personal opinion. I'm not PPing it or anything like that, but I would be borderline dumbfounded if it's not Green at 2 and Mobley at 3. Which, by the way, I'm shocked that Mobley is falling to 3 because a big man who can shoot in the NBA and be, a potential superstar. I mean, that's literally everything you're looking for in today's game. It's so hard to find those guys. I'm shocked that Mobley is going to go 3 and not 2.
Scotty Barnes, the guy I always liked at Florida State. I wonder if he stays in the state with Orlando. He's the favorite to go 5, but Bouknight at plus 350. I have Bouknight going 6. I don't know how you feel about that, but here's one that I'm looking at. Do you think Franz Wagner is a top 10 pick?
Yep. Excuse me. Hold on. Okay. So here's. Sorry, I'm getting sound there. Okay. Here's you asked about Wagner.
Yeah. I said Scotty Barnes probably goes 5. Bouknight 6 is what I have. I'm looking at these top 10 odds. Players to be drafted in top 10 picks.
Yeah.
So do you think Franz Wagner is a top 10 guy?
I think he's going to be close. I think it's going to be around that area. This site will not stop making noise here. It's very frustrating. Okay. So here's what I would say. I think 4 is probably going to be Suggs, although there were some rumors that Toronto was going to surprise and take Barnes, especially if they are going to end up moving on. Oh, my Atlanta. Unfortunately, this site is just not working for me. Even though it's the site I wanted. They were gonna, eventually move on from Pascal Siakam, which would kind of then make sense. If you're gonna draft Barnes, you probably end up wanting to move on from Siakam. So that's kind of something to look at. I think it's gonna be Suggs. I think that he is probably the right pick for that team, especially if you're moving on from Kyle Lowry, which it sounds like that's going to be something that happens this offseason, potentially to the Lakers or New Orleans or something along those lines. Dallas, whatever it is. So I think there's very little value at this point. You and I were all over the Bouknight thing. I got 10 and 9.5, and we put out 10, and you gave out on the pod. We both gave out on the podcast 9.5. So I mean, that has been out there for the the Bouknight under, which is now at 6.5. I think that Bouknight goes 6. But I would not be shocked if that's not the case. Like I would not be completely shocked if Kuminga still goes 6. Like Kuminga was maybe like the absolutely most like valued guy coming into this year. One of them. He was Cade, and Kuminga was really right there, and Green. And Kuminga has really fallen. So I wouldn't be surprised if Kuminga ends up being a top 6 pick and he ends up going to the Thunder. I think it's possible that we see Bouknight end up going at 8 instead. Like I think it's possible that Bouknight ends up going 8 instead of 7. Like if Kuminga goes 6, I think we see Bouknight go 8. So I think that's kind of the way it looks. Which is why I probably still wouldn't touch the over-under Bouknight, which is at 6.5 most places. Some places have a 7. I think you're probably playing with fire there. Franz Wagner. I think Franz Wagner is going to drop out of the top 10. I'm just being honest, and I know that that's like, so it's not like a definite. I wouldn't feel super comfortable giving out a play on it, but I just feel like there's one of these guys is not going to make it. And you're seeing there's so much smoke on these unders. As the draft approaches, that I think some of these guys are probably going to have to, start going over. Like you can't have everyone go in the top 10. Like Moses Moody can't go in the top 10, and Wagner and Giddey and Kai Jones and possibly Sengun, who's been shooting up boards. Like some of these guys have to fall, right? So I think Franz Wagner is going to be a guy who falls. I do. I think that he's going to be a guy who falls. I think there's a lot of people talking about Josh Giddey in the top 10. His stock has moved so far. I think Sengun under 11.5 is not a terrible play either, because I do think he's going to be a top 10 pick as well.
All right. Just getting back to the Warriors quickly. They got 2 picks in the top 10. Are they going to trade those for players, you think, or are they going to select? Because you mentioned Kuminga, like he'll be there.
I mean, he'll be there at 7. They pick at 7 and 14. So I think they'll end up probably reaching for someone at 14, whoever they like on their board. And I think 7, they'll take probably the best overall player, whoever that is. Although I'm sure they probably would prefer it be a bigger guy like, a Jonathan Kuminga than a James Bouknight. Obviously, I know, Kuminga at least at least is a wing 3-4 type guy. Bouknight's basically a point guard. So, you have enough of that on that team, which is why I think you kind of saw Bouknight make that real quick jump in the market from 8.5 to 6.5. I think there was a little bit of 7.5 there, but really wasn't there for super long. So I think that's, kind of a possibility there. Another guy who I think is probably, I think there's probably a little bit of value on is Corey Kispert. Everyone loves the under on Corey Kispert. He's kind of moved up from 14 to 13.
It's 13 and a half right now.
Yeah, I give me PP over on Corey Kispert, over 13.5 minus 110. I think that Kispert is going to end up falling a little bit.
Plus 100. Plus 100. Oh, you said over. Okay, minus 130. Yep.
There's a minus 110 on multiple sites here, so you can definitely get the minus 110. I think over on Kispert is another good prop. Not everyone can go top 13, 14, 15. Chris Duarte is really shooting up draft boards. Zaire Williams is another guy who's gone, who's kind of starting to shoot up. Keon Johnson is a guy who's fallen, but he probably gets picked earlier than his prop. Kai Jones is a guy who's fallen. He probably, so Davion Mitchell is a top 10 guy who's now sitting at, over under 12.5, which is crazy. People are talking about him not even being picked in the top 12, which is, to me, insane. I think you're looking at, if you're looking for some value still on the board, Davion Mitchell under 12.5 I think is a half decent one, and I think Corey Kispert over 13.5 is also really good. So yeah, as Kev says, he's in the math. Only 13 guys can go top 13. Math checks out. I'm not a math guy. I don't pretend to be, but I do think that, we're one of the things that kind of happens very much like win totals, Joe, is these unders get inflated with the, because everyone wants guys to go higher. They think they're going to go higher than they actually do. Win totals, everyone goes over. And usually when you bet overs in the NFL, it's a bad thing because there's more overs. The total of all the overs on the board is actually more than possible potential wins for teams. So when you're betting an over in the NFL and any win total, you're already at a disadvantage because of that. So,
got it. A couple of guys. I know you mentioned Kispert. How about your boy Ayu Dosunmu?
I am getting a lot of complaints about my lighting. So hold on, I'm gonna go turn on a light. I'll let you talk about Ayu Dosunmu.
We don't even need to do video. I don't know why it bothers everybody so damn bad. Whatever. I know Dan loves Ayu Dosunmu, and right now the over under for him is 26.5. And I'm looking at some projections when it comes to Dosunmu, who I think the kid, if you watch him, he's good flat out. Like he is a typical prospect with potential. Dan, the Brooklyn Nets just traded Landry Shamet, and they picked up a draft pick. I'm curious if they're going to get Ayu Dosunmu with one of those picks. So the total's 26.5 right now. Personally, I'd go under on that. But if he lands at Brooklyn, that's 27.
I think you're going to end up seeing an over on Ayu Dosunmu. I do think that. I think he's going to end up being a late pick, a later pick in this draft tonight. And by the way, we have some breaking news. Anthony Rizzo appears to be headed to the Yankees.
How do they have Gallo and Rizzo? How does that even work?
Gallo's going to play the outfield and Rizzo's going to play first base. So they really wanted to add some left-handed power to that lineup, and they did that. I talked about it this afternoon. I hated the addition of Gallo for them because He's a guy who, while gets on base at a very high rate, he strikes out at an extremely high rate and doesn't get the ball in play, which is literally the thing, exactly what the Yankees need most. Guys who put the ball in play and don't strike out. And that is the exact opposite of what Joey Gallo does. He literally is, in my opinion, a very terrible fit for that lineup. Anthony Rizzo is the guy who at least puts the ball in play. I mean, he's not a guy who's going to be, an incredible hitter, but at least, he's hitting what, 250-ish this year. His OBP's 350-ish. Like at least puts the ball in play. He's only struck out 59 times and 376 at bats. So, it's frustrating as a Red Sox fan right now because the Yankees are now doing more than you. And I know that they obviously have a much better farm system, but not getting Anthony Rizzo, that sucks because I thought Anthony Rizzo would be a really good fit for the Boston Red Sox, especially since they badly need a first baseman,
I'll tell you this much, though. They get Rizzo and Gallo in that lineup. If Judge comes back and Stanton becomes anything, oh, boy.
I mean, Stanton has looked like he just looks lost. So I have no interest in dealing with Stanton. At least in my opinion, I think that's a mess to that whole contract, that whole situation there. But
Ken Rosenthal confirmed, definitely confirmed he's going Anthony Rizzo to the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean that really sucks. Rizzo to the Yankees sucks. Man, if the Red Sox
what about the Marlins first baseman there? I think he's pretty good.
If the Red Sox don't do anything right now and they end up adding, Carlos Santana, oh boy.
What about Aguilar? He's having a better year.
Yeah, I get it. But they need someone who can actually play a little bit of defense too. This is turning out to be a big problem if the Red Sox don't add someone. You want to talk about the Yankees are a team that's making a push for the playoffs, and honestly, I don't think they have a prayer even if they make the playoffs this year. And at least Gallo, has another year on that contract for next year. But the Red Sox need to make a damn push. I mean, the Rays have acquired a bat. The Yankees have now acquired two. The Astros have acquired bullpen arms. The A's have acquired a bat. Like, everyone is making acquisitions around the Red Sox with the exception of them. They need to make an addition immediately. So, I'm hopeful that by the time at least tomorrow is over, that the Red Sox will have made a move, and it hopefully will be a decent sized name, because right now this is not looking very good.
Let's be honest. The team's good. They're in it. They're well managed. They're getting Chris Sale. Duran's going to help out. Houck obviously is going up and down. If they stand pat, they love their system. All the talk about ownership going after Scherzer. It smells like a Danny Ainge thing, right? Sit on your hands and wait. I don't know if that's what's best for business, Dan. I have this theory where whenever you have a chance to go for it, you go for it. Especially this year. Like the American League, the White Sox loaded up today, right? I mean, I think the White Sox are the team to beat, but they can be beaten. And the Sox are, 2 pieces away? And they're getting their own talent back. If they don't even make a move, are they even going to make a move?
It's certainly concerning right now.
Would Carlos Santana interest you?
I mean, I think that's a secondary piece. If Carlos Santana is your big addition at the deadline, then you failed to do your job correctly.
What about Craig Kimbrell?
Again, I would like the addition of Kimbrel. I do think that adding a bullpen arm would be important, but you already have a closer. I don't know how much of a high leverage, reliever you need. If you can get a good reliever to go match with Ottavino and you have Barnes already, I'm not really sure why you would need to add Craig Kimbrel and overpay for a guy like that. I think they need an upgrade at first base badly. Carlos Santana's fine, but
converted catcher.
Yeah, I mean the Rizzo was the name, and I thought Rizzo would be really fit nicely inside that Red Sox lineup, and now he's going to fit nicely inside the Yankees lineup. Them adding him and Gallo, I think that changes things. I really think that changes things. So the Gallo again. I didn't think it was a great fit for their lineup, but I do think that that Rizzo is going to be something very different, very different. I think that's a really good move. I will say it does feel like Brian Cashman is trading for his job, right? Because if they don't make the playoffs with these two moves, I think that Brian Cashman's probably gone.
Well, what about the Rays? Are they all done? Like Nelson Cruz was something they needed, Do they now make a move to bolster to stay ahead of the Red Sox now?
Yeah, I think maybe the Red Sox are looking at Chris Bryant. That's the name that's
I would love him. I love Chris Bryant, dude. Devers has a tight hamstring right now. I know you don't want JD Martinez in the outfield, but I'm only saying like Chris Bryant can play first. He can play outfield. Like I think he's just a ball player, right? One of the best prospects. Has won a championship. I mean, does he go for more than Rizzo? And just while we're at it, all right? While we're at it, doesn't it piss you off being in Boston and watching the Lakers just make moves all the time and the Yankees just make moves? Like, it kind of drives me crazy, dude. Like, it doesn't matter who's on their roster. They just do the deal because they're who they are. And I don't know. The Red Sox, the years that the Red Sox won championships, they made moves they didn't have to, but they did it anyway. Like, Eric Gagne never worked out here. But you know what? They did the move to bolster it. You kept them away from somebody else, It just, to me, like, it's kind of frustrating, like, watching these other teams do work and dude's just sitting on his hands.
You're right about that. But remember, the Red Sox also made some big additions as well. I mean, Steve Pearce was the World Series MVP. He was acquired in a midseason trade. Nate Eovaldi was a guy who was acquired from Tampa Bay in a midseason trade.
The years that they won, they did make trades. Is what I'm saying.
Right. Well, exactly. But those two guys were massively impactful on the team, even though they weren't major names. Pearson and Eovaldi were amazing for the team that year. So I mean, they better do something. If they don't, Chaim Bloom is going to be in serious shit. I think with not only the Red Sox fans, but I think his owner. I really don't think so. By the way, just for those who are looking at the NBA draft stuff, Davion Mitchell just moved from 12.5 to 13.5 as well. So Mitchell is still falling down the board. I really think that Davion Mitchell under 13.5 is a potentially good play. I still think I prefer Kispert. It's I still think I prefer him. So we'll see. But
while we're on that, I mentioned Luka Garza. I just love the player. His number is 54.5, which would be what?
Late second.
Late second.
Yep.
Would you go over or under 54.5? For some reason, dude, I feel like you can't pass on him. I think
to me it's an easy over, and I think to me that's one that if you can get. Yeah, I think if you can get a good number on that, I think Garza has a very good chance of going undrafted. He's a guy who can score, but he can't defend whatsoever. And while he's a bigger name and he's a bigger name player, a lot of those bigger name players who can score and are really good players in college aren't very good fits in the NBA. And Garza, to me, is another one who is a perfect example of a guy who probably doesn't fit super well in the NBA. And I'm not really sure that, he's gonna be a pick. I think there's a very good chance that Garza goes undrafted tonight. So.
Whew, any other big names that we should look at here? Like the kid Hauser, one of the Hauser brothers. Does he get drafted tonight?
So I don't have a line on Hauser, and I honestly haven't seen a lot of
57.5. Last pick in the draft.
Yeah, I'd say probably under that too. I think that he's a guy that probably goes under. Probably goes over. Excuse me. I think that he's a guy who probably goes over. If you look at
Ayayi, who I really liked at Gonzaga, man.
Who?
He's Ayayi.
Yeah, Ayayi. Yeah.
I think he'd be a nice player in the league, man. He's at 40.5.
Yeah, maybe.
Pick, don't you?
Yeah, I think a late second for him is probably about right. Again, I think if you remember he played with Corey Kispert and with Jalen Suggs and with all this talent around him, then I think that you kind of remember that maybe he's a really good player. We're probably benefited from the guys around him. I think if you're looking for a late pick and you really want to bet on something, I don't feel confident about this at all. But if you're looking for one of those second round guys, I think Isaiah Livers under 51.5, is a good chance there. It's, the rumors around his medical information are, is pretty good. I think that he dropped a lot in mock drafts because of that injury he suffered it, right before in the tournament. I can't remember exactly when he suffered it, but, I think that Livers is, I think it was slightly before. Livers is going to be a guy who ends up being drafted slightly before people think he will be, just because of the fact that just because of that injury. And I think that the medical information apparently, according to reports, is good around that. So I think Livers will probably be a guy I went under on, compared to, whatever else you have. So.
All right. Well, I think the live betting will be pretty good tonight when it comes to this draft, and we'll see what else is available, and we'll keep our eyes on this Major League Baseball. Wow. Wow.
I will say the Rizzo stuff sucks. I think that's a really, really good acquisition, like a really, really good one. I think so far out of all the acquisitions, and I haven't seen the price for Rizzo or anything, but I think he's the one that makes sense the most. He strikes at a very low rate, makes contact in the ball consistently, can get the ball over the field, and he's a left-handed hitter. That's probably going to earn a little bit of power. So, I do think that, it's, that's a really good pickup.
Kyle Schwarber. I wonder if he'd be available. I'm just thinking of guys.
That's another guy that has been rumored to potentially be an addition. But again, I think Schwarber is a big step below what you're looking for, in Rizzo. Outside of he had put Rizzo, Schwarber like a 10-game streak, and outside of that, he's really been very little this season.
All right, Dan. So just a little NFL stuff. The Packers odds changed. Win totals at 10. I feel like that's a lock. I don't want to say lock, but that's just to me, that's a good number for them. And then obviously the Rodgers MVP line moved. Was it 14-1 to 10-1? I think it was. Their odds got better. I've been thinking about this. Who are the top 3 teams in the NFC?
Yeah, I mean, we had this quick discussion last week. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think it's gonna go well in Green Bay. I don't, you and Rich, and I know you guys are all in on the Packers this year. I think that's gonna be a fucking disaster, sort of as the Patriots were a couple years ago when Tom Brady was leaving. It never goes well. These type of situations, the final year, whatever, it never goes well. And obviously, Rodgers is putting up the the last dance stuff with Devontae Adams, so that he's getting the fuck out of there after the season. Like, you just know that's happening. It just doesn't go well. So I'm on the under with the Packers. I think the Vikings end up winning that division. I think they are primed to win that division. They have 2 elite wide receivers, a very good defense. They're going to they've shored up the defensive line, which is, really what they needed to do. They have an elite running back. They have a young tight end. So I think that's, at least a good thing. Like, their offense is developing. I think Cousins is okay. To me, it's probably going to be Tampa, who I don't think is going to win the Super Bowl, but they'll still be very good this year. I think that everyone loves LA. I think it will probably be one of those NFC West teams. I don't think it's going to be Seattle. I think it will probably be either San Francisco or LA. So I'll say the Rams, even though usually the teams that everyone loves never do really well. That's another rule in the NFL betting. Like when everyone is on the over, usually you should take the under. And I'm going to say, I'm gonna go with the Vikings. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Vikings as well. I think the Vikings are gonna win that division. I think they're gonna be the best team there. So,
all right, dude. And then obviously they'll keep our eyes peeled on any quarterback competitions, Fields in Chicago, of course, Mac Jones and Cam Newton here in New England, and I'm sure there's a bunch of other odds that are out there. We're gonna be previewing the Sun Belt, excuse me, this weekend. On the DraftKings Over Under show, so we'll have that.
Yeah. By the way, from John Morosi, the Red Sox and Rays have jumped into the Jose Barrios race as well, at least as of 3 minutes ago. So
I know that's somebody Matt McCarthy loves, Jose Barrios.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Barrios, in my opinion, I think is a legit number 2 starter in this league. That's what I think. I think
Puerto Rican, which is Alex Cora. Yep. I think he was with him on that Puerto Rican team, I want to say, or managed him. He's 27. Career earned run average 4.0. But he started out well. He's been around, right? San Fran. Oh no, sorry about that.
No. Barrios has been in Minnesota his whole career. He was a highly touted prospect. He's developed pretty well. Again, I don't think he's quite a number 1, but I do think
he's an all-star though.
Yeah. Again, I think he's a very good number 2 starting pitcher. And if you have him as your number 2 pitcher in your rotation, you have a very good rotation. So I think the Red Sox will be very good. Yes, he's controllable as well. So it's not like he's a 1-year guy. He's still very young. I believe he's 26 off the top of my head. 27. He turned 27 in May. So, I mean, he's still very young. He's probably got another 5 years left of his prime. That's a guy you pay. That's a guy you keep. I'm very, very interested in Jose Barrios. Again, as long as the cost is not Jarren Duran and it's not Tristan Casas. Outside of those two, I feel pretty confident doing that. So, that's what I would say. That's what I would say. So I hope that makes sense. Or whatever. So, so there's a lot going on. Joe, do you have any plays or anything kind of going on right now? I know I gave out a draft play. Obviously, do you have anything else?
Oof. I'm very high on a couple of guys in the draft, and looking at the app. So I already got Boop Night under 9.5, which is looking really good. Now I got it at minus 140, and this was a couple of weeks back.
I got it at minus 115. Regardless, I would be very surprised if that does not win. Very surprised.
Draft position is interesting. I'm looking at a couple of people here. So you like the Corey Kispert?
Yeah, I'm going Kispert. I'm going Kispert over 13.5. As I said, I think that he's going to be one of those guys that ends up falling a little bit there too. Yep.
So I'm going to go Davian Mitchell. It's going to be a little controversial. I'm going to go under 12.5.
So he's actually 13.5 now in most books.
Oh, okay. Under 13.5. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'll repeat that one.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think that's a point I very much agree with.
So I loved Mo Wagner. And Mo Wagner in college was great. And he's not in the NBA, which I'm very upset about. But Franz, I don't like Franz Wagner. He missed that easy layup in the tournament. And I'm just out on him. And I can't see him being a top 10 pick.
I can't either. He's been flying up boards. I think he opened.
I want to go over 8.5.
I don't think that's bad when you PP in that as well.
Let's do it.
Okay. So
I got three picks. I got Book Knight, Mitchell over, and Franz over.
Yes, you got Book Knight under, Franz over, and Mitchell under.
Mitchell under, yes. Sorry.
Mitchell under. Okay, yeah, I'm rolling with Kispert over 13.5. I have Book Knight under 9.5 from me and Joe both have Book Knight under 9.5 from early in the week. I'll give out one more because I think we'll go 3 and 3 here. I'm gonna go because I was gonna probably go Mitchell as well. Let me see what else I can find here. I'm going to go Ayo Dosunmu over 26.5 minus 115. Yep. So I'm going to go Dosunmu over 26.5. Lock that up. So there you go. So there are picks tonight. Both Joe and I are on Book Knight under 9.5. I'm on Dosunmu over 26.5. I'm on Kispert over 13.5. Joe is on Davion Mitchell under 13.5, and he is on Franz Wagner over 8.5. There you go. There are 6 picks, four from the podcast. So there you go.
Hey Dan, real quick, do you want to talk about any of the NHL odds that changed with the beginning of free agency?
Sure. So I kind of touched upon it yesterday. I really didn't think the Bruins had a very good start to free agency. I didn't think what they did was very good. You'll notice today the Bruins odds across the board are 14 or 15 to 1 to win the Stanley Cup. Joe, do you know what they were just a week ago? Actually, just a couple of days ago, pre-free agency.
No.
The Bruins were 10 to 1 or 9
to 1.
I
saw 11 to 1 today.
Yeah, they are okay. They are now 14 to 1 or 15 to 1 at most places. What this tells you is the Bruins did not do well yesterday, and I echo that sentiment. I said the Linus Ullmark signing was a signing that I really liked. I thought that for a guy who played pretty well in Buffalo in front of maybe one of the worst decors in the entire league and put up very respectable save percentages and played very well outside of the injuries. If he stays healthy, I think Ullmark is going to be a very, very good goalie here. And I think that he's going to be a great trade asset if Jeremy Swayman does develop. So I'm in on the Ullmark signing. I'm not angry at all about committing about $6 million to the goalie position. I think that's about right. And to me, it makes total sense. I don't love the 4 years and a half no trade clause and no movement clause the first 2 years, but you have to give a little, take a little. I do think that the additions elsewhere, in my opinion, are problematic. And Vegas, I'm going to be honest with you, Vegas agrees. They moved the Bruins down quite a bit in value because of the fact that those moves that they made yesterday, especially cap-wise, are not great. And again, I know that there's a lot of people who believe differently and think that the Bruins did a very good job, and to each their own. That's your opinion. You're certainly allowed to have it, but I'm going to roll with Vegas in this one. This is before I saw what the lines in Vegas were. I did not like the Bruins' moves yesterday. I really don't think they did a good job. Listen, Derek Forbort is a third line pairing defenseman that you paid $3 million to because it was out of necessity. I don't think that he is, I know he was playing, top 4 minutes for Winnipeg, but he was not great in the top 4 minutes there, which is concerning. Nick Foligno is probably about 2 years past his prime. Really good player a couple years ago, but more of a big body and a skater than he was back then. Thomas Nosek, to me is a guy who benefited from, being in the top 15% in offensive zone starts last year. And Eric Haula, in my opinion, is the worst signing of all. Haula, to me, is the worst one. I really don't like the Haula signing. I don't get it. I understand wanting to replace some of these guys and wanting to, bring in upgrading your third and fourth lines. I just don't think the Bruins really did a great job of that personally. I'm a guy who likes to play as young players, and you have a plethora of young players. At some point, these guys have to get a fucking chance to play in the league. And if you continuously rack up third and fourth line players, they re-signed Nick Ritchie yesterday as well. How they still have Chris Wagner. They still have, Curtis Lazar. Like, how many third and fourth line players do you need? You still have Jake DeBrusk. Like, guys are just popping in my head left and right. How many of these guys do you need? How much money do you really need to commit to that? And if you're committing this much money, that means you're not drafting well, you're not developing well, you're not doing a good job. I think that reflects in the Vegas odds. Will the Bruins be better if they bring back David Krejci? Yes, but a lot of those guys that they paid big money for yesterday are guys that you can acquire at the deadline for third, fourth round picks. And I know that you don't love to hear that, but you're the Bruins. You have a very small window. You go for it. So if I'm them, I would have put my chips on the table. I would have made a big move for a left shot defenseman, top 4, or I would have made an upgrade on Craig Smith. I don't think that he's a top 6 guy. I know he played very well with Hall and Krejci, but the fact is that you can do better than that, in my opinion. And I just I don't understand what the Bruins did. I don't like it. And if this is what they have to start the season, I think they're in trouble.
Awesome. All right, dude. Well, I think we got an hour in here. Oh, Team USA plays tomorrow. Basketball. I haven't been betting the Olympics. It's just something I'm just not into it.
Dude, a lot of people are not into the Olympics this year. I'm kind of in. Like I'm in it. I'm kind of in. I'm kind of out. I've been watching some of it, not all of it. USA minus 24.5 versus the Czech Republic tomorrow. That's going to be a line that I think I'm going to avoid as well. I actually lean the United States in that one. I do.
Yeah, the total's been low too, man. 183.
Yeah, I mean that's about right for for an Olympics game. I think it might even be a little bit high for an Olympics game. So I'm not upset about where the total is. I think that's probably about right. I just the spread's a little bit too big for me to feel comfortable taking the USA. And honestly, I don't love this Czech team and don't feel great about them covering that side either. So I'm going to pass on that completely. Honestly, if I'm looking at something tomorrow to, or whatever early in the morning, if you really want on the 31st, I like Nigeria plus the 6 against Italy. I think that they actually might win that game outright against Italy. So I think that would be something I would possibly be interested in, but no interest in betting the USA.
All right, dude. That's it for me tonight. 6 picks. We got more coming on Saturday with our 7-9 show.
Four picks, 2 more.
Yep. So that's all I got for tonight. Anything else for you?
No. I think that I think that's it. I'm hopeful. There's some Red Sox rumors out there that I'm really hopeful, it can happen. And it looks like the Seattle Mariners just made another trade. They're acquiring Diego Castillo from the Tampa Bay Rays. So Tampa Bay is adding and subtracting. The Red Sox are sitting there with their thumbs up their asses right now, not doing much. I'm not out on Chaim Bloom. I'm not criticizing him. I'm being patient and waiting. I just hope that they can do something sooner rather than later.
I hear you. So we'll find out. Tomorrow's the trade deadline. So that's it for us. Thanks for everybody who tuned in. We get the draft coming up in about an hour. I'm going to get some dinner myself.
Yep.
Strap in for the draft. Keep my eyes on Twitter tonight. It's been a crazy week. Camps opened up in the NFL, trade deadlines in the Major League Baseball, the draft tonight in the NBA, and of course we got the NHL free agency ongoing. So, and then the Olympics are on. So a lot happening right now. Going to get out of here, Dan. 58 minutes, 31 seconds. Good time. We have 10 people left. I think we had like 90 people watching at once. Don't forget, Bankroll Boys t-shirts. Go to 985thesportsup.com. You can buy, there's 2 shirts. There's a white and a blue one with the logo in the background, and then there's another one that says over under. I wish they asked us what we wanted to do. Maybe we could have got Wrangler shirts. But anyways.
Or Illinois fucking sucks. That would have been great.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool too. All right. That's it for us tonight. Check us out Saturday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Once again, this has been another edition of the Over Under 985 podcast.
Who you got? Have a good one, guys.
Later.